Salah Elbakkoush. He is a Libyan political commentator and former advisor to the High Council State. Good to have you on the show. Just to remind our viewers that we're watching live pictures. So, what is the new Libyan Prime Minister looking to get out of this trip to Ankara?
Well, I think the Libyan Prime Minister recognizes, as everybody does, it doesn't take a genius to realize that without the Turkish help, this couldn't have been possible. There would have been no government of national unity, and probably Haftar and company would be ruling Libya with an iron fist. So this is a recognition of the strategic importance of a Libyan-Turkish relationship. And I think this needs to be strengthened and made more solid.
Salah, tell me this. You mentioned strategic importance. The Prime Minister Dbeibeh had said that the economic deals between the Government of National Accord and Turkey should remain in place. I'm wondering what the scope of this is. Does this mean that the maritime demarcation agreement that was signed back in 2019 and the military cooperation accord are still intact and will continue to stay intact?
Oh, they are intact, and the roadmap coming out of Geneva stated clearly that these are not to be touched, at least until probably elections and a permanent constitution and a government is chosen. So these are safe, at least for now. And I don't think a lot of Libyans want to mess with these things that have brought this kind of opportunity for Libyans to put their house in order.
Salah, thank you for those comments. Just like to remind our viewers that the new Libyan Prime Minister, Abdul Hamid Dbeibeh, has just arrived in Ankara, greeted by Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Let's bring in our diplomatic correspondent, Andrew Hopkins, who is just following this arrival. Andrew, from the Turkish perspective, an important visit for the Libyan Prime Minister to be in Ankara.
That's right. This man has just been in his job for a few weeks now. He was sworn in last month, and he's very much in demand because he's at the head of the government, which has been put together, a united government, if you like, after months of talks of various processes that have gone on under the supervision of the United Nations. So he's got the job of bringing this country back together again, a country which hasn't had a proper, stable government running all the land within its borders since 2011, which was when Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown. So now we have this new Prime Minister of Libya arriving in Turkey, and you can see the importance of this meeting by the fact we understand he's brought 14 ministers with him, a number of deputy prime ministers and the head of the military. So a pretty wide agenda that's going to be talked about through all these meetings. And from Turkey's point of view, I think there are several things that are very important. There's going to be things like the economy. Turkey has already been involved in rebuilding Libya since the overthrow of Gaddafi, but now it says it's committed to continuing that work as the peace process continues in the country. And the new Prime Minister has said that all the contracts that Turkey has signed with Libya so far, with the previous Government of National Accord, which is based in Tripoli, those will be honoured. Also on top of this, I think you've just been talking about the maritime deal, which was signed by Turkey and the GNA as well. Over a year ago, that was regarding maritime borders to be sort of demarked, delineated in the Eastern Mediterranean. Turkey will be looking for assurances on that, and also military cooperation going forward, because there are a significant number of members of the Turkish military in the country. They went there at the invitation of the Government of National Accord to support really that government, which was backed by the United Nations, and to try and bring about a peace process in the country. And to a certain extent, it's been successful at achieving those aims, and now they want to make sure that that is seen through. But also, I think they'll be talking about military cooperation in future and military sales, which is also linked to the economy. So a lot of things to cover in these meetings in the next few hours.
Let's talk about what Turkey sort of wants to get out. 14 ministers, 5 deputy prime ministers, as well as the chief of staff, also accompanying the new Libyan prime minister in his inaugural trip to Ankara. Healthcare, obviously going to be an important sort of sector in which both sides will look to sort of further relations, obviously defense cooperation. Anything else you can add to that?
Well, as I just mentioned, there's a huge list of things that need to be discussed about Libya. As we mentioned, it's a country which hasn't had a stable government since 2011, so it hasn't really had a proper economy, a united economy. It's a country which has got the largest oil reserves in Africa, and it's in the top 10 in the world. So if you take that into account, this is a country which probably should be performing better economically than it is at the moment. So that's one aspect that needs to be talked about, the economy. Energy, of course, Libya, like anywhere else in the world, is suffering from the COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic at the moment, and 9 years of war won't have had a very good effect on what's left of the health services there. So there'll be that aspect to talk about as well, how they can help each other going forward. There's how the militaries are going to be reunited under one banner in Libya, because for the past few years we've had the military with the Govt of National Accord in Tripoli against the militias following Khalifa Haftar, the warlord who is based in the east of the country, and that's one of the challenges going forward, one of the challenges that the current Prime Minister has and the United Nations is trying to organise as well. So I think Turkey is going to be involved in that going forward, but the normal everyday stuff as well, restoring infrastructure, rebuilding houses, rebuilding hospitals, schools, all the things that have been damaged over the last few years. These are going to be very important too, and Turkey has said it wants to be involved in that process as well.
Yeah, Turkish firms certainly looking to be playing an active role in the rebuilding of the country as we move forward. All right, so I want to bring back our political commentator, Salah Elbakkoush, who's also standing by for us. Salah, I know that you've been listening to Andrew, and I sort of want to pick up on one of the points that he made in terms of this maritime agreement between Turkey and Russia. It's no secret that Greece is opposed to this, but it's also reopened its embassy in Libya after 7 years. The country clearly opposes this agreement between Tripoli and Ankara. What's going to happen in terms of it staying in place?
Look, it's an aside. It's interesting that Greece has extended an invitation to the head of the Presidential Council, Mr. Mnifi, who was the ambassador in Athens and was ordered to leave Athens within 72 hours late last year, after the signing of the agreement. So now they find themselves face to face with the same guy they kicked out, coming back as the president of the Presidential Council. But look, as far as the agreement, the maritime agreement and the military agreement, military cooperation agreement, these have been put aside and they cannot be touched. They will continue to be in force. That's according to the roadmap that everybody signed on. It stipulates that that all the agreements that the national government, the National Accord, Govt of National Accord, the previous government signed with Turkey, will not be touched and will continue to be enforced. So nobody can do anything about it, no matter what Greece says or what France says. Those cannot be touched. So the Greek need to talk about something else.
Just let me just talk over the latest live pictures that we're just showing our viewers. Libya's newly elected Prime Minister Abdul Hamid Dbeibeh being welcomed by Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the presidential palace. These are the latest pictures, so we're replaying them. As we replay them, let me ask you another question. The fact remains that foreign fighters are still in the country. What do you think the two leaders will be talking about them in terms of the future of this?
Of course, look, there's a combination of things. improved, or at least that's what you, according to what you reported earlier, improved relations or communication between Egypt and Turkey will help in this regard. The good relations between Turkey and Russia will help in this regard. And I think the new Biden administration position on the Russian Wagner Group will also help. But what will help really is a unified government. And now we have a unified government, even though parts of this unified government think that the Turks are the foreign fighters, and the other thinks that the Wagner is the Wagner and the Janjaweed and so on are the foreign fighters. So we need for this government to speak with one voice, or maybe we'll have to wait on this issue until the elections of December 24th of this year.
Okay. Salah Elbakkoush, thank you very much. And a special thanks to our diplomatic correspondent, Andrew Hopkins, who was also on this broadcast. We're covering the first visit by the Libyan Prime Minister to the Turkish capital.